Hi and good evening. Thank you for watching. I'm Shakil 5858. I am Buddham. Now the latest headlines from world channels and news agencies.
Tonight, the first winter storm of the season slamming the Northeast while an atmospheric river hammers the West Coast. Millions feeling the impact as snow blankets the Northeast, some parts seeing up to 20 inches. The dangerous road conditions, at least one killed. In Cleveland, the NFL showdown in the snow. In the West, relentless rain and life-threatening flash flooding. 150 people stranded inside a medical center. All coming as Thanksgiving travel gets off to an early start. And just breaking tonight, Donald Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary. Expected to be longtime hedge fund manager Scott Bessent. What we're learning. Also tonight, Matt Gaetz making an announcement about his political future after he withdrew as President-elect Trump's Attorney General pick amid sexual misconduct allegations. And Mr. Trump's new pick for AG, will she have a smoother path? Plus, the major move in Mr. Trump's hush money case. The judge postponing his sentencing set for next week indefinitely. Will his conviction be tossed out? The new E. coli alert involving ground beef. The NBA joining the NFL to warn players after several burglaries at the homes of star athletes. Are they connected? And space tourists taking a ride of a lifetime on a Blue Origin flight to the edge of space and back again.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. I'm Amna Nawaz. Jeff Bennett is away. On the NewsHour tonight, Pam Bondi steps in as Donald Trump's new pick to lead the Justice Department. Her record as Florida's Attorney General and as a Trump loyalist. The Texas Board of Education moves forward with a plan to incorporate Bible stories into school curriculum. And stolen childhoods in Haiti, where girls face sexual violence and boys are recruited into gangs that have overrun the country.
It makes me so scared. I tell my mother I want to leave the neighborhood, but she has no money, so we have to stay.
Tonight, the first major snowfall hits the Northeast, more than a foot in some areas. The NBA and NHL, the latest pro leagues warning players to protect themselves from break-ins. And news breaking as we come on in the West, President-elect Trump revealing another top cabinet nominee. First major storms on both coasts, just as millions prepare to travel for the Thanksgiving holiday. The Northeast hit with heavy snow, rain, and wind. A 50-mile stretch of I-84 shut down from Scranton, Pennsylvania to the New York border. The dangerous atmospheric river bringing flash floods and landslides to California. Homes surrounded by water, cars submerged. Our weather team tracking it all and what could be a stormy holiday week ahead. Also, the breaking news coming in, President-elect Donald Trump making his pick for Treasury Secretary. It comes 24 hours after he named former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as the new Attorney General nominee, following the withdrawal of Matt Gaetz. Bondi, a Trump loyalist, defending him during his first impeachment, playing a role in trying to overturn the 2020 election. And here in New York, what a judge ordered about the sentencing in President-elect Trump's hush money case. Tonight, E. coli cases expanding across the U.S., back-to-back outbreaks linked to organic carrots, and now 167,000 pounds of ground beef. And new reports that an infant's death is being blamed on a listeria outbreak linked to meat and poultry products. First, the NFL, now the NBA and NHL are urging players to protect themselves from break-ins. Authorities warning thieves may be part of a sophisticated operation using high-tech equipment, including drones and jamming devices, to scout their homes. For the first time, the Texas Board of Education approving a Bible-based curriculum for public elementary schools. The new rule allowing teachers to teach Bible lessons to millions of students. Critics warn the curriculum infringes on students' religious freedoms. Sean Diddy Combs back in court fighting for a fourth time to be released on bail in a sex trafficking case, when a decision could be coming. A new human case of bird flu now being reported, the first confirmed case in an American child. And America Strong tonight, the postal worker to the rescue. what happened while he was making the rounds and the family saving him a seat at the table for Thanksgiving.
I really wasn't expecting 10 inches of snow.
Tonight, extreme weather slams both coasts with snow, wind, and for some parts of California, record rain. We're tracking the forecast for your Thanksgiving travel as the rush begins. How TSA is preparing for tens of millions of passengers. The legal victory for Donald Trump. Plus, Matt Gaetz speaks out after withdrawing as the president-elect's pick for Attorney General.
I'm still going to be in the fight, but it's going to be from a new perch.
I know it's not him, but he held him, he loved him.
And on this Friday, we go on the road with a family who's found a key way to honor their son's life.
I just couldn't even believe it.
The CBS Evening News starts now. Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for joining us on this Friday night. Dangerous weather.
On this Friday night, judgment for human smugglers after the death of an Indian family. The verdict in a Minnesota courtroom for the actions of two men. How they left a family with children to freeze to death in a Manitoba field. A leader of the so-called Freedom Convoy also gets his verdict. The prison time he may face and the chaos outside the courthouse.
You'll be going to charge for harassment, you stupid.
Plus, the ridiculous cost of Taylor Swift, the crackdown on ticket gouging, and one man's trash is another man's travel method.
That, quite frankly, absolutely should not be going in the landfill.
The young engineer recycling the power of vaping.
Global National reporting to
we didn't let anyone know it was happening before. Just set up a sign outside that says, come in dancing for 5 seconds and get a free coffee.
Woo! Love it!
We had Michael Jackson and the Bee Gees to kind of set the vibe for them. We were hyping them up and making sure that like everyone was having a good time. I think that everybody wants a reason to dance. And I don't think it's about the free coffee. I think it's about setting an atmosphere where people can let out their inner child. There definitely was some customers that probably didn't read the sign. They probably were a little confused why we were bumping Bee Gees at 10 o'clock in the morning as loud as the speakers can go. But once you realize what's going on, it's like no one can be mad at people dancing. It makes you happy. It makes me want to dance too with them, you know?
Now that is some good fun. I wonder if the people dancing for their free cup of coffee realized their video was going to go viral. Apparently almost 8 million views of that video. So we're not the only ones who thought it was pretty fun to watch. And it's so successful, the coffee shop is apparently going to do it again next Friday on Black Friday. So you have 1 week to get your dance moves ready.
अपने फेवरेट रेस्टोरेंट से खाना मंगवाओ सीधा अपने घर पे। अभी फूड पैंडा ऐप डाउनलोड करो और जो चाहो वो मंगवाओ।
Well, Scotty the T-Rex is the most famous dinosaur fossil found in Saskatchewan. It's one of the most complete T-Rex skeletons ever discovered. But it's not the only one. Mick Fable has details on a new species dug up near Lake Diefenbaker.
It's a glimpse into Saskatchewan's prehistoric past. Researchers from the University of McGill discovering fossil specimens of Centrosaurus in Saskatchewan for the first time.
And now with that finding, we definitely have proof that that specific dinosaur species ranged as far east as Saskatchewan. We used to know it very well from Alberta, but now we definitely know it was in Saskatchewan.
A close relative of the slightly more famous Triceratops, the Centrosaurus lived around 75 million years ago. The fossil was found in the Lake Diefenbaker bone bed, a hotspot for fossil discoveries, with more secrets of Saskatchewan's past hidden in the dirt and rock. The Royal Saskatchewan Museum is thrilled with the discovery, as it shows Saskatchewan's prehistoric inhabitants were more diverse than previously thought.
So this particular deposit formed about 75 million years ago, and at that time there was something called the Western Interior Seaway. It's sort of a shallow sea that ran all the way from the Gulf of Mexico up to the Arctic Ocean, and Saskatchewan would have been right on the coast of that. So this particular site allows us to look at what's going on right up against the edge of the ocean.
The Western Interior Seabed existed approximately 100 to 66 million years ago, and archaeologists say it's one of the factors behind recent discoveries in the province.
Over the last few decades, in particular, we're starting to find some very interesting fossils, but now it looks like, for the Cretaceous at least, there's a lot more to discover from Saskatchewan.
Although McGill conducted the research, the fossils will be returned to Saskatchewan to become part of the Saskatchewan Royal Museum's collection. Mick Fable, CTV News, Regina.
ABC's.
Visit abc.net.au/emergency.
Today, a manhunt underway after a targeted fatal shooting in inner Sydney.
The male that has died was known to police. He does have links to organised crime entities.
A community in mourning. A second Melbourne teenager dies from a methanol poisoning incident in Laos. 5 remaining members of the Bali Nine could be brought home after a request from Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Australia are bowled out for just 104 on day 2 of the Perth Test against India. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ruby Cornish.
Headline news this hour. Vote counting underway for high-stakes elections in 2 Indian states. Early trends suggest that Alliance, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP, is in the lead in Maharashtra, the country's wealthiest state. While in mineral-rich Jharkhand, it's a neck-and-neck contest as opposition coalition fights to retain power. North Korea condemns U.S. military drills with South Korea and Japan, warning such actions could escalate into war. It comes after Washington and said Pyongyang is preparing for a possible 7th nuclear test. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Scott Bessent to lead the Treasury Department. If confirmed, Bessent would be at the forefront of rolling out the president-elect's economic plan, from seeing tax cuts through Congress to managing economic ties with China. And COP29 talks running overtime after poor nations and activists reject a pledge for $250 billion a year in climate finance. Negotiations are set to resume later today.
The developed countries are offering $250 billion when developing countries need trillions. It's like bringing a garden hose into a wildfire. It is outrageously inadequate, the climate crisis that we are facing. We need fire trucks. We don't need buckets of water.
And that's the latest from the CNA Newsroom.
The Lebanese capital under intense bombing from Israel. An 8-story building in the city centre destroyed in the past few hours. In Gaza, children are among the latest victims of new Israeli strikes across the Strip, with hospitals in the north struggling to stay open. Hello and welcome to TRT World, live from Istanbul with me, Charlotte Burevni. Also ahead on the show. Vladimir Putin sends a message to the West saying Russia is stockpiling hundreds of mid-range missiles which can't be intercepted. And frustration as climate talks drag on. Negotiators struggle to secure a deal on cash for poorer countries hit by changing weather patterns.
The
head of government in the Democratic Republic of Congo kicked off Friday an assessment mission in the country's war-torn east. Judith Suminwa and a large delegation landed on Friday in Goma, the capital of the North Kivu province. North Kivu and the neighboring province of Ituri have been under the state of siege for 3.5 years. The move, decreed by President Felix Tshisekedi, has since been criticized. As you know, the president ordered last year measures aiming to ease the state of siege. It's true that all of those measures haven't been enforced yet. That is why it's all the more crucial for us to come here to hold discussions with the province's key stakeholders to the province of Ituri. Over 100 armed groups have been sowing terror in the region for decades. What will it take to silence the guns in Sudan? The nation plunged into conflict in April 2023, and despite creating the world's largest displacement crisis, paramilitary group RSF and the Sudanese armed forces continue to fight. The U.S. Special Envoy to the country, who traveled there recently, said Thursday the parties lacked political appetite to reach an agreement.
We do not yet see enough political appetite from the parties to find a real resolution to this conflict, which of course at the end of the day has got to be about handing control back to the people, as was the heart of the revolution in 2019, and continue the work of building an integrated professional national military, which I know the SAF leadership wants to see.
The conflict also persists because of the involvement of foreign powers, local groups and the UN Under Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs have said.
So here's what we know. We have way too many countries that are pouring weapons into Sudan who should be pouring in food and medicine. We have way too many countries deciding to get involved, not in the interest of the Sudanese people, but to take advantage of the fragility of the state. And right now what we need is the kind of leadership where the region is coming together to say now is the time for peace, now is the time to remember that even if the war continues.
Hygiene and Tropical Medicines Sudan Research Group.
There's been widespread reaction across the world to the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and Hamas commander Ibrahim al-Masri for...
Later, Ellen, see you never. Good luck with that UK weather. You say that Trump's what since you're packing. We know it's cause your career be lacking. Enjoy your cricket, tea and biscuit. Fuel up and fade out, you stupid d***. Read all about the latest issue. This just in, nobody will miss you.
MC Gene. Our Arkansas Eminem. To degenerist. Bails for the UK. All right. I'm going to go to you first, Kat, because this is such a... I think you understand this story. So Ellen and her wife, Portia, have left their millionaire haven of Montecito for England. Now, they're saying they'll never come back in the wake of Trump's win. Do you think that's the reason why she's leaving?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellen got canceled for real a few years ago from just being a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a single comment she said or something she did, just lots of people saying that working for her was a living nightmare and that she's a jerk. And I think that's probably why she wants to leave, because she hasn't really been able to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I mean, remember how everybody loved Ellen? They're like, Ellen, we love you, Ellen's here, yay! And then that all went away. So she probably has been thinking of a reason to leave, and now she thinks that this is the reason to try to make it look like some sort of, look how afraid I am, I feel how you feel because I'm, you know, of Trump.
Yeah, it was just the excuse.
Hello, welcome back to Daybreak here on France 24. I'm Yuko Itade. Our top stories at this hour. Israel presses on with its bombardment of the Lebanese capital. Several explosions ringing out in the early hours this Saturday. Hezbollah says that at least 4 people have been killed and 33 wounded after a series of airstrikes hit central Beirut's Basta neighborhood. NATO and Kyiv say they'll now hold emergency talks on Tuesday, days after Russia tests out a new hypersonic missile on Ukraine. Putin says the firing of the nuclear-capable weapon was in response to Ukrainian strikes using British and American-supplied weapons. A judge in New York postpones Donald Trump's sentencing in his criminal hush money case indefinitely. The president-elect's team hailing the decision as a decisive win. We begin the program in the Lebanese capital, which has been rocked by several explosions early.
This is DW News live from Berlin. Growing concerns over a new Russian weapon, a missile the Kremlin says can hit targets anywhere in Europe. President Vladimir Putin says Russia has a stockpile of the weapon and orders the mass production of more. Moscow used it to attack Ukraine for the first time, sparking NATO emergency talks, also coming up. Heated negotiations as the COP29 climate conference in Azerbaijan goes into overtime. Rich countries pledge $250 billion a year to help deal with global warming, but developing nations say it's not enough.
People come to Laos to experience a different culture and have fun. But 6 young tourists have died in Vang Vieng and more are in hospital, apparently poisoned by drinks made from methanol in place of ethanol. The industrial chemical is sometimes found in homemade alcohol or cheap counterfeit spirits. A small measure can make the blood acidic, attacking the nervous system and organs. Among the victims, British woman Simone White, a young lawyer from London. This afternoon, in a statement, her parents said their daughter had been taken from them too soon. We are devastated by the loss of our beautiful, kind and loving daughter. Simone was one of a kind and had the most wonderful energy and spark for life. She was a soul who gave so much to so many and was loved by her family, friends and colleagues. 2 best friends from Australia have also died. Holly Bowles and Bianca Jones, both 19, fell ill at this hostel last week, 2 nights after the staff gave out free shots to around 100 people. The manager's been detained by police for questioning, before which he said no one except the Australian teenagers became ill.
The hostel's always given out free shot of Laos vodka to our guests as a gesture of hospitality. We got the alcohol from a trusted shop in Van Vieng. After drinking here, the guests were sober, they looked healthy, and they went out for more drinks.
A number of people have been detained by the tourism police, and it's not yet clear where the contaminated drinks came from. 2 Dutch women and an American man have also died, taking the fatalities to 6. And several Britons are in hospital. The Foreign Office is supporting their families. Methanol is used in drinks because it's cheaper than ethanol. It's colourless and tastes and smells very like the real thing. It can take 24 hours for people to show symptoms.
It's scary because not everyday people are dying. Just like this. I won't drink from a glass, I won't drink from an open bottle, and I won't drink a homemade alcohol.
The UK Foreign Office is working with the authorities in Laos and has also updated its travel advice for the country, warning tourists to be wary of counterfeit drinks and avoid homemade alcohol and local spirits.
Next.
Ben, thank you. Good evening. It's just gone 9 o'clock. These are your headlines. Irish MMA fighter Conor McGregor has said he intends to appeal after a woman who said he raped her won a civil claim for damages. Nikita Hand has been awarded £206,000. However, she has lost her lawsuit against Conor McGregor's friend, James Lawrence, who she also accused of raping her in a Dublin hotel in 2018. Mr. McGregor posted on X saying he was disappointed with the verdict and would appeal, while Ms. Hand spoke outside court, saying the weeks of her civil case against the fighter have been a nightmare.
My mum and all my family and friends. Lastly, I want to thank my daughter, Freya, who I'm most grateful for. She has given me so much strength and courage over the last 6 years throughout this nightmare to keep on pushing forward for justice. I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself if something happens to you, no matter who the person is. and justice will be served. To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
In other news, President Vladimir Putin has said Russia has a stock of powerful new missiles ready to be used. It comes just a day after his country fired a new ballistic missile at the Ukrainian city of Dnipro, which the Kremlin says was in response to the US and UK, allowing Kyiv to strike Russian territory with advanced Western weapons. It comes after the UK vowed to continue supporting Ukraine following threats from Putin to strike the UK. The parents of a British lawyer who died from a suspected methanol poisoning in Laos have described her as a beautiful, kind and loving daughter. It was confirmed yesterday that British citizen Simone White was one of those to have died as a result of the incident. It comes as police in Laos have detained the manager and owner of the hostel in connection with the death of Simone and 5 other people. Those who were poisoned are believed to have been served drinks tainted with methanol. The hostel has denied the drinks in question came from its bar. Donald Trump has been granted permission to seek dismissal of his hush money criminal case in which he was found guilty earlier this year. It comes in light of his victory in the November 5th US presidential election. The judge presiding over his trial has also agreed to delay the sentencing, which was scheduled for next week. And the second named storm of the season will bring a multi-hazard event of snow, rain and strong winds to parts of the UK this weekend. That's according to the Met Office. Storm Bert is set to reach the UK tomorrow, bringing freezing temperatures and snow over the weekend. Much of the UK has already experienced snow this week, and as Bert gets closer, the forecaster is now warning of potential flooding, power outages and travel disruption. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Ben.
Thank you for sparing your precious time. This is Amir Shakil. Have a good life. Bye-bye.